Hey everyone, this will be a video to show how to dual boot Linux alongside Windows such that you don't run into some problems in the long run. I'll talk about some theory behind the method and then I'll move on to the part where I'll install Ubuntu on my machine so that you get what I'm saying. I'll strongly recommend that you don't skip the theory because believe it or not, it will be important in knowing what we are trying to achieve. Okay, so this is a traditional Linux installation in a Windows system. This orange colored box is your hard disk and is named as SDA in Linux system. Every hard disk must have a bootloader in the first sector. So here it is as a grub and it's MBR. In Linux it is grub and in Windows it is MBR. Both of which do the same thing. They provide entry points for operating system that are residing on your hard drive. If you install Linux traditional way, it overrides the MBR of the Windows and places grub on it, which then controls entry points to both Linux and Windows. To make things problematic, this Linux and the swap partition that works with Linux both are placed inside your C drive. That is a problem because if something happens like a Windows update, a kernel update, then it will overwrite some things that is placed in the grub and it will lose the entry point and do not know that it will not know where Linux is in your hard drive. So here's a solution I'm trying to do. We make separate partition for all things Linux, that is the OS, the swap, and also the bootloader, that is grub. This way the MBR stays intact and we don't touch the C drive that is for Windows. So here the system reserve SDA1 and SDA2 are from Windows and SDA3, that is a separate partition for all things that is associated with Linux. So if Linux updates itself, it will be done inside this partition because the grub resides in that partition. If a kernel update comes, it will be updated inside that partition, and if a Windows update comes, it will be updated in the MBR that doesn't know where is a Linux partition. Let's see how we do it. To do this, we first have to unallocate some space from our hard drive. We do this inside Windows by going to disk management. We go to start menu and just search for disk, and we'll get an option for create format hard disk partition. So we go there and it will open disk management and you'll see your hard disk like I've shown the diagram like that. You'll see the hard disk and you'll see all your hard drives. You can shrink one of these hard drives to make an unallocated space for your Linux partition. So I'll be shrinking my last drive that has 241 GB. So I'll be using 41 GB from here. I'll right click on it and go to shrink volume. So that is 41 GB. So I'll shrink it. So here it is. We have created an unallocated space that is free now, and after this you have to make a bootable pen drive. You can look up for it on Google how to make a bootable pen drive for Linux. Boot your laptop or your PC from that bootable pen drive, and then I'll show you what you have to do inside the installation in the free space. Let's see that. Okay, don't mind the quality for this video because I'm recording it from my mobile. So after you have booted your computer and come to this screen where you have the option for choosing the installation type, you have to choose something else here, this one. The steps will be similar for any type of Linux installation, whether it's Mint or Ubuntu or any other installation. So we choose something else and we go. Now it will load your hard disk and show you the partitions that are there for you to manipulate. Okay, so here are the partitions, and as I said earlier, here is SDA1, that is our reserve, SDA2, that is our C drive, SDA3, that is my other stuffs, and SDA5 is also one of my partitions. And now we have free space, that is a 42 GB. We can assign it two things, that is swap space and an ext4 partition that is for Linux. So you want to do a plus sign and give it let's see, we can give it 000, and I'll make a primary partition of ext4, and this will be a mount point for root. So we'll choose root here. And okay, so we have our dev SDA6 ext4 partition with mount point root here as our Linux installation drive, and we have to make a swap space also, so we can use free space to make the swap space. I deliberately left 3 GB for that, so I can use that. Now you can add this and just select swaps area from here and press OK. Okay, after this is done, you take a last look at all the partitions that you have and take a look that your Linux partition are separate from your Windows partitions. And the most important step here is that you install your grub to a location that is SDA6, that is your root partition, that is your Linux partition. So here where you are asked where to install the bootloader, that is grub device for bootloader installation, you don't want to install it on SDA, that is your hard disk. So you click on it, you want to install it on SDA6, that is your Linux partition. So this is the most important step, and don't mess this up because you will end up making a mess of your computer. So remember this, you have to install your bootloader in the partition that is of Linux. Then you just go for install now and you continue. Okay, now I'll just let this installation go, and I'll let you know what happens after this. Okay, after you have installed Ubuntu on your computer, and when you remove your live USB and boot right into it, then you will not notice, your computer will not notice the Linux distribution that you have just installed, and you will straightly boot into Windows, and that's a normal thing, and that is what should happen. After that, you have to give your computer an entry for Linux in the MBR. That can be done with a software called EasyBCD. You download it, and then when you open it, you can add new entry and go to Linux/BSD grub2 from here and name it anything you want. Select the partition where you have installed the Linux and add the entry. When you add the entry, it will be added successfully, and when you boot into it, Ubuntu partition will be booted. Make sure that you don't make the live CD from unit bootin, that may cause some problems, and I'll be leaving a live USB creator in the description. Use that. Thank you. Bye.